Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Karak with Mehreen show. I'm so excited about today's guest. She's someone who loves adventure. She loves adrenaline. She loves energy. She is a TV personality. She is a mastermind when it comes to content creation, journalism, presenting, public relations, communications. She is an all-rounder. She is also an animal rights advocate. She turned from a shrimp lover to a vegetarian. Let me please welcome Simrin Gupta.
Oh my god, thank you for that introduction. That was amazing.
Yay.
And the fact that she said it without a teleprompter, without a script, had everything memorized.
Yeah, I practice it like every second that I get, it's just running in my head. So it's not like naturally, like I have to memorize it.
While you were saying, I'm like, who is that?
That's you.
Thank you so much for that, and thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited. My very first invited podcast.
Oh, wow.
It's with you.
It's the first.
You are
I'm
my
honored.
first. Yeah, thank you. And I love the little branding, the stickers.
I hope you like the Karak.
Yeah. Dubai is Karan Johar.
Dubai's current joy. Yeah, you were saying it before.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like I had to be UA themed.
Yeah, and so you picked me up, your car is all red, you're all red. I mean, I want to ask you more about like your red theme.
My
and
love for red.
fascination with red, yeah.
Yeah, it's just a weird fascination, but I would love to talk about it.
Let me ask you your favorite Taylor Swift song.
Oh, no, it's not red.
It's not red?
But yeah, I love Taylor Swift. I love Blank Space for some reason. The thing is that I don't even relate to the lyrics. I just love the vibe.
I think
Taylor Swift songs.
Every Taylor Swift song is a vibe.
True. To be honest, yeah. It doesn't matter like what she's saying. It's just the vibe.
100%.
Yeah.
Swiftie?
Not like an extreme.
Die Hard?
Yeah, not a diehard fan, but I love her songs.
Yeah, same.
For sure. Like you cannot not like a Taylor
Yeah, you
Swift
cannot.
song, right?
I mean, if there's something psychologically, wrong if you don't like a Taylor Swift.
You're like, is there something
There's
wrong with
always one song that will resonate with you.
True, that's
you
true.
know?
Yeah, that's actually true. Yeah, I like 22. Like when
yeah.
I turn 22, I want to listen to that. Yeah, for sure.
This will turn into a Taylor Swift
conversation. Yeah. We're moving back to you. I always like start with an introduction about you, what you do, and just a little bit about your personality based on what I see. But I want to ask you to describe yourself. How would you introduce yourself? Eliminating your career, just you as a person.
Okay, me as a person, I'm gonna go with what my mom wrote in my marital bio data. Very gentle, caring, soft-hearted, a woman with a golden heart.
Oh, wow.
Wears a heart on her sleeves.
And you don't agree with it?
No, not really.
Of course you do. I'm sure it's the truth. If your mom says it, it's the truth. Like,
oh, moms will say anything to get you that
like
marriage.
they see moms, they don't always
match.
like easily compliment you. You know what I mean?
They don't. But when it comes to lying in the bio data, they will lie out of their noses. You know.
True. But so, what do you think about like the whole scene and environment of marriage in our communities? Because you've talked about it a lot. I've seen some of your clips about the whole marital.
Okay, so my parents are the most chilled out parents in the world, touch wood, like they just don't get bothered by anything. Oh. And they're like, you do you, what makes you happy, very supportive always. And just recently, as soon as they found out like, oh, our chick here is single and she's hitting that 26 mark soon, let's find her a guy. Someone put it in their heads, and so my mom's like, on overdrive mode.
The switch just turned on.
Yeah. And she's like, biodata. I'm like, I'm not making one. She's like, you know what? It's fine. I'll make one for you. Can you at least like give me a description about yourself? What are your interests now? I'm like, I'm not doing that. She's like, don't worry, I'll do it for you. She's just like, in her own like zone. She's found a new activity, a new pastime now.
Her project. It's a
new project. Yeah.
And how do you feel about that? Do you feel ready? Do you feel?
I am just so going with the flow and ready for what my mom wants to. Like, it's just now for me, it's fun. To see like what happens, like mysterious, like which guy does she find?
Oh wow, it's a game for you now. Oh, I love that perspective. So but growing up, did you hear talks about marriage a lot? Was this common at the dinner table for
our
you?
parents, honestly, they always said like, career first. Always find your place in society, find your place in the world, and love will follow. Love always follows. It's just don't put too much mind and pressure into it, because the more you do, the more it kind of gets to you. Because you see on social media, right, how people get consumed by love and relationships and finding someone that they lose themselves in the meantime. And you don't want that. You just want to like focus on yourself, focus on your life, focus on your being the best version of you, and then at the right time the right person will come along.
For sure.
No,
I completely agree. I think like the whole idea of like finding a partner, it just, there's like this pressure to it because you see it on social media, people around you talk about it. But the best way to do it is just first focusing on yourself, developing yourself, and when you reach that point, then your partner is, you're not dependent on them. You don't need them, but they're adding to you because you've already developed yourself. They're just adding to your life.
100%. This is like something that's beyond your control anyway. Like finding someone, it's like it's not up to you as much as you want it to be up to you, you know. Like it's just like happens. The powers that be, the cosmic energy, like whatever happens, but like your life is somewhat to a certain extent in your control, you know, like the jobs you choose up, the projects you choose, how much time you invest into yourself, you know, how you educate yourself, those kind of things that you can somewhat, you know, like control, do that.
For sure. I think like these early years of our life, if we spend that energy on like finding someone for us, we lose, as you said, we lose yourself. Like this time is so crucial for us to be us, like to be me, like, and to find me, who is Mehreen, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
And if I spend that time and energy on, it's not to say on other people, of course I have to spend time on other people, but it's to say to find someone to fulfill me. Because that idea that you need someone to fulfill you, especially at this stage of your life, I don't think that's right. I don't think that's the intention you should be going on with your life.
And you don't need like people say that you need a person, like you said, to fulfill you and all those things. You actually don't, right? And like the other person is just like, eventually you want to find your person. Like of course everyone wants that in their lives, you know. You want to find someone who you can confide to, someone who's emotionally there for you, physically there for you. But right now, with where we are in the world, you know, like people losing their chivalry, it's not just about men, it's about women too. Like just kind of people are losing themselves to a level of like ghosting, zombieing, all these terms that have come up, you know, situationships. Like you don't want to invest your headspace in all that garbage.
For sure.
And like, what is he doing? Is he thinking about me? Is he not thinking about me? Should I text him first? Should I wait to text him? Like, oh my God, the pressure of like the chase. Like why?
Oh, it's so unnecessary. Especially
like, you know, it should just be like straight up, like this. If you're not into it, if you're into it, like let's just, you know, be upfront about it. Like what are these games people play and make it the norm? You know, unnecessary.
How did this opinion form for you? Like, did you see people around you, like your friends, going through such phases?
I think
of
right now everyone is in that, like, anything you read online, right? Men love the chase, women love playing hard to get, and it's like you kind of plant it in people's heads, like that's the norm, that's how it should be. And then you watch Bollywood movies and it's like they wear their hearts on their sleeves if they want if they want a girl. And actually, if you hear the proper love stories, if a man or a woman really want, or you know, they're fascinated or attracted to the other gender, they will actually, you know, make it very like obvious, straightforward. There are no games. When you start playing the games, that's when it becomes a game. I don't know, in my head I feel like love is not supposed to be a game.
I think that's when it gets unhealthy. And it's not supposed to be unhealthy. It's supposed to be smooth and natural.
Exactly.
And, I mean, I completely agree that it's of course, in the sense that the process will have its like roller coasters. They're gonna have fights, arguments, whatever, but the process of finding it should not be this unhealthy like element to it.
Exactly. It's too much pressure on love now, way too much. And it was much simpler back in the days before people, you know, put too much thought into it.
So you mean like when your parents would pick for you and you just
No, as in
like
back
what do you
in
mean?
the days before there was like social media and ghosting and all those terminologies.
Okay, yeah.
Before humans started overthinking every small thing.
And you call your girls immediately. How do I reply to this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, girl, you play hard to get. Like, stop it. Don't advise me all that shit, you know? Like, you don't wanna be like, you don't wanna be playing that game. Like,
Yeah.
you know, like there are people who are out there playing the game, winning at the game, winning in life, but it's like to each their own, to be honest. You know, in life you learn, you do you.
For sure. Yeah.
If the games work for you, then great.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the best way to put it. Yeah.
And mostly works for those, you know, the womanizers.
I mean, you'll always find those people. It's just you as a person, like who you.
But let me tell you, even womanizers stop playing the game when they find the one.
Yeah, that's true.
So if you're a game to them, take the hint and move on.
True.
I'm telling you, that is how it is in life. Like, and as much as you look at it being like, I can change the guy, I can change him, like he will fall for me if I play the game right. If you're playing the game, means you
You
not
already
the one.
lost the game. girl.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. I've heard so many people go through these phases of like chasing people, chasing persons around them, or even if when they start the chase, and clearly the other person is not really into you, but
Yeah.
you just keep going forward. That somehow maybe like this
Yeah.
maybe is just. Yeah, I agree.
But the thing is, when you're in the situation, it's very different. You know?
I guess that's
As much as you say it yourself or hear
it's
someone
easier
else
said
saying
than
it,
done.
yeah, everything in life is easier said than done.
For sure.
When you're in the situation, things are so different because your feelings are heightened, emotions are heightened, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't tell from experience, to be honest, but from what I hear around me, and I would agree that like a lot of people, it's before they get into that phase, probably they have the same opinions as us, but when they're in that situation,
Yeah.
It gets
And it's just like,
conflicted.
you know what? I'm okay to get hurt. It's worth it.
It's worth it. Pain is gain.
Exactly. No pain, no gain.
Yeah.
You know, you have all these contrasting and contradictory things you see on the internet, and you're just like, I'm gonna go with the one that I resonate with the most.
Yeah, that makes sense. But circling outside of relationships and this whole world of love, let's talk about values.
Okay.
And this is something we were talking about before. And one thing that I really saw on your page that you talked about constantly was your love for animals and you becoming a vegetarian. And so how did you go from being called a shrimp, I believe that was your nickname,
In school, yeah.
to being a vegetarian?
Okay, so I was not called a shrimp. My nickname was like Shrimprin because in math class, a teacher of mine called me Shimrin by mistake.
Oh, and then people
A friend heard it as Shrimprin and then like, that's a new nickname for her. And he was like a class
That's creative
bully.
though.
Not
Oh,
creative.
you
The
didn't
guy
like
was a
it?
loser. He went around calling me Shrimprin, picked up. It became like Shrimprin Kofta.
Huh?
And I'm
Kofta?
like, Gupta to Kofta.
Oh, okay.
It's
okay.
like, wow, genius. But like, I didn't care too much. Like these things, like it's whatever. It's like laugh and fun and laughter. So you can't really like take it to the heart. It's not a big
Yeah.
deal. So it became like a high school nickname. And when you own up to it, that's when they stop. They kind of like back up a bit. They're like,
Back up.
oh, she's not even getting affected.
Yeah, it's just you're not even annoyed. It's you're living for it.
Yeah. And then I had shrimp for the first time and I was like, whoa, this is delicious. And it was like when I was turning veg, I'm like, how will I ever give up shrimp? But I just did because I don't know. I think when you realize something's life, okay, like a life matters more than your satisfaction. When you have that in your head, it just doesn't matter. Like that taste doesn't matter, that feeling doesn't matter, that satisfaction. It's like it kind of your thing is bigger than that, right? Like someone's life is bigger than just that.
Yeah.
So when you have that I don't know, I had that realization at one point after my youngest sister turned vegetarian full time.
So she did it.
She did first.
got
Like our
inspired.
family is vegetarian.
Okay. So it was sort of in your culture
Yeah,
already?
yeah, 100%. Like it was already there, but my parents, like I said, so chill, and they're like, you do whatever you guys want.
Depends on you, yeah.
So we had non-veg for the longest time, and then I made the transition in 2018 where I'm like, no more for me. Like I just stopped, like cold turkey, stopped it, and never looked back, to be honest, because when you see the torture these animals go through, like even if it's like, you know, in the most unpainful way, it's still like it's taking someone's life. And before it was like, you know, in the olden days, it's like you hunt and it was survival. Now it's not survival anymore, it's become industrialization. And you look at the videos and you see what these animals are subjected to in terms of like rape, in terms of impregnating, in terms of killing, abuse. It's so much torture, and it's like your body becomes a graveyard for them.
Yeah.
And you don't want that. You don't want your body to become a graveyard. You want it to be a temple, you know, like it should nurture great feelings, great hormones, and you don't want that from these animals.
That's very interesting. Like, because I have some friends who are vegetarians, but I grew up in completely meat-loving society, my family, everyone. So this thought of becoming a vegetarian or caring for the environment, caring for animals, this was not something that was instilled in me growing up. But recently, as I started traveling more and I started meeting more people, this perspective came into play that, you know, one perspective is animals, one is also the environment, climate change. There's so many reasons people go vegetarian. So I started being more aware of the fact that, yeah, it's true. Like, first of all, it harms animals. Second of all, it harms the environment that we're living in because meat production produces a lot of carbon. So it's very interesting to hear these perspectives that I never heard of growing up at all. And but for you, when did you have this instilled in you? Was this because of your parents? Did they talk about it? You said they were quite chill.
Yeah.
But did they talk about like animal abuse growing up, or how did you become more aware?
Before I tell you that, I want to say, like, people are always in denial of the subject, you know, like they don't want to accept the fact that it is wrong. They don't want to accept the fact, like they just want to call it a part of life. And seeing that you're so open to this conversation, open to these perspectives, I swear I'm so impressed. Honestly, it's so impressive. Because you don't find people like you who are open to these conversations, who want to hear and listen and kind of understand everything before making up their own mind on what they feel about it, you know? For most, it's like, no, I like it.
That's it.
Yeah, that's it.
That's the conclusion.
And then you will make up all these arguments that are not valid, but in your head it's valid just to prove a point, which isn't really a point. But
it's just your preference, but it's not an argument, actually. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like a way of consoling yourself that you're making the right decision. But coming back to like instilling this inside of me, I don't think my parents ever really like try to influence our decision. They always like, they're like, do whatever, but they would always say like, okay, for us, religion was always like, you know, as long as you don't harm others or yourself and you be a good person, that is what religion ultimately is, you know. So
That's
that
exactly
would,
what I said.
right, in any religion in the world, it's basically the underlying morals.
Yes, that's
is
the foundation.
that, right, the
Yeah.
foundation. So that's what they would tell us. And be it like humans, be it yourself, be it animals, don't cause harm to anything, and you're a good person. Anything else is like you can get away with, you know, like white lies and stuff. Because even like when it comes to lying, if that lie will break someone, harm someone, then what you're doing is wrong. There's no like two ways about it.
Yeah.
So that was their foundation of like us growing up and them teaching us like, you know, how to be good humans.
Yeah.
And from that, it's like when you realize it applies to animals too, because we got a dog and we love our dog so much. He's like our angel. And when you see like, you know, other animals just like him are being harmed, like stray cats, stray dogs, and that goes on to cows, that goes on to chickens, like what's the difference between them and our pet? Like there is no difference. Like they're all living. They can't talk, they don't have a voice, and they speak with their eyes, and they cry when they're hurt, you know, like when you see all those videos, it gets to you. It really does. And anyone with a conscience will just step back and be like, you don't want to be a part of that. You want to be a part of that pain that's inflicted on them. So I think just all of those in that time of my life, like when everything, you kind of, it hits you, you're just like, what am I doing? I got to change my ways. So you have those epiphanies sometimes in life.
Yeah.
And for me, my, I think, what's the right word? Catalyst was my sister.
Oh, it's your sister?
Yeah.
Younger
sister. She turned veg, and then I'm just like, I think I got it.
I mean,
too.
if she did it, should I do it?
And she went cold turkey, and she's like, she's going towards veganism as well. Like, for me, it's so difficult, but it's like, I know ultimately that's where I want to be, a vegan.
Do you think it's hard to be a vegetarian in Dubai?
No. Vegan, yes, a little bit more difficult, but I feel like you should do what your body is ready for and not do anything too drastic that you have to like later be like, like you'll give up veganism altogether.
Yeah, it should not be something that you just do for a few days, and it should be something you're completely ready for. That
exactly. Even for the non-vegetarian to vegetarian transition, like for me, I went cold turkey, gave it up. But there are people who do that and they're like, then they really miss it. So have a transition, like go through like phases of giving it up slowly, get your body used to it, and then you can, like, those are for the ones who want to. Anything in life, even if you want to become a gym rat and you've never gone to the gym, you cannot expect to be in the gym 3 hours a day from the very get-go and expect those results. You have to gradually build your stamina, because you don't want to come to a point where you give it up completely.
Yeah, so it's always the small baby steps. Yeah,
it's always baby steps, and you just have to make sure everything in life is gradual and consistent.
Yeah.
So if it's something, if you're looking at it as like, this is going to be difficult for me, just do it gradually. So
is that your goal, or is that something not yet?
Veganism?
Yeah,
it's my goal. So I do it gradually. Like now I've given up milk, and then cheese. But like, then again, it keeps coming back to me. Like, your satisfaction is not more than their lives. So it's like, you think of that and then slowly, you like give it up. And like anytime you get the alternative, you choose the vegan alternative.
Yeah.
For me and my sister. So yeah.
Do you think being a vegetarian is expensive in Dubai? Because I've heard this from some people. I don't know what.
No, I'll tell you. Okay, so vegan fake meat is expensive.
Yeah,
when you try to replicate it.
Yeah, like the impossible.
Yeah, impossible meat.
Yeah.
But if you just go for desi food is essentially vegetarian and vegan.
Yeah, that's true.
Dal, lentils, tofu, soy.
Yeah.
Paneer.
So is that usually your meal?
Yeah, our diet is very it's protein dense. And by the way, animals also get if you look at cows, they're very strong and they get their protein from the food they eat.
Yeah.
We get their secondhand protein.
Yeah, that's
so we're not even getting protein from their bodies.
Actually, from what they're eating.
We're getting their fat, we're getting their cholesterol, but we're not getting their protein. We're getting their secondhand. So we can have that firsthand, but we choose the taste over the...
That's interesting. Yeah, this is a
nutrition.
Revelation. Yeah, you were talking about how people are not open to hearing these perspectives. I think I've realized that there are so many things in our society that have become normalized. Yeah. There are many elements of it that you grow up and you don't think about it, you don't even question it. It's just a part of you. It's just a part of your life. And so there were lots of things as I started meeting new people that I was like, wow, this is something I've never heard of, never even thought of, never questioned.
Yeah.
So that's why I've learned to ask people more and learn from other people more, even if that doesn't mean it's like it would result in an instant change, but it's something that I can learn from gradually. Like I was telling my sister the other day that I want to have because I don't think I can be fully vegetarian, but if I can have like vegetarian days, I don't know, of course it's not the same, but it's just something gradual to start with.
Exactly, it is.
And so I was talking to my sister about it as well, and I don't know what she thinks, but that's just what I've learned from talking to people.
Anything that feels right in your heart, if you feel like that decision will make you feel good and give you that sense of like pride in yourself, then that's something you should do. Not even question it or anything, you should just do it. But yeah, what you're even thinking of, that gradual, it's a way to do it.
Yeah, for sure.
And something is better than nothing in life, honestly.
Oh wow,
true.
True. It's like, and as we said, baby steps. It's better to actually be doing something than to be just talking about it and just sitting there and not doing anything at all to take action. So for sure.
Exactly. Every drop makes an ocean.
Wow, you have all these like gems in you. Little
Just a few,
gems of
just a few.
senses.
Yeah, because I think when you are always like, life is full of crossroads, right? And what helps you in those crossroads are these quotes that you see online and you just devour them.
True, and it just stays in you. There are always these few statements that are just in you, like imprinted in your head, because they leave an impression on you.
Exactly.
Sure.
And if it comes at the right time, it really affects your decision making.
That's the best
time,
thing
no?
ever. Yeah, for sure. Moving on from vegetarianism, there was something that I saw about you was about your tattoos, and I saw that it's in Sanskrit.
Yeah,
right?
one is in Sanskrit, which is right here. It says Atmadi Bhava, which means be your own light. And over here, I don't know if you can see. Can you see?
Yeah.
It's an Om.
Om, yeah.
So it's like the sound of the universe and like a big symbol in Hinduism. And yeah, convinced my second sister to get a tattoo on her wrist that says trust no one. And there I am getting these tattoos, and we go back home at the same time and my parents are like, look at you and look at your sister getting meaningful tattoos, and there she's trust no one.
Trust no one. But did you convince her to do that?
No, she wanted one.
Oh,
She just didn't know what to get, and I was like the very quirky one at the time, like creative, and anything creative in the house would mostly, like, okay, let's ask Simrin. And I suggested that, and she was like, yeah, sounds good. And I'm like,
but like, is it from her personal experience why that would just make sense, or it was just a funny little
line?
Yeah, that was funny.
My parents are like,
a clear contrast between the two.
It's like, oh, our daughter, like, Simran, look at Avantika, what is that? Kya karke aayi hai tu? You can't even remove this tattoo now. What will your husband say? Everything rounds back. What will your husband say?
Everything, literally.
You take a 2-hour shower. What will your husband say after marriage? Can't cook. What will your in-laws say? It's just those funny things,
Yeah.
And now that you think about it, it's like that's what makes a desi household. You wouldn't have it any other way.
And going back to them, do you want to talk about what inspired this?
What inspired? Okay, so Om, so for the longest time I was like in a very British school, and I was very whitewashed. I was whitewashed by the culture. I would really hate on my culture. I would hate on Hinduism. I would hate on Bollywood, India, Hindi, not even want to speak the language. And I was like, like Americanized, completely American TV, Wizards of Waverly Place, Disney Channel, all those movies and stuff. And then later in life, I kind of came back to my roots through Bollywood. And really, like, when I started finding myself again, because I was lost for a very long period, I had like all these eating disorders, and the pressure of exams got to me, and I was going through a lot of like a spectrum of issues. And then slowly I just came back to my roots, and it really like helped me. I don't know, somehow, like, I really have Bollywood to thank for this.
Yeah.
And from there I kind of got Om. I really wanted Om, and then this Atmadi Bhava is something I found online, but it's like the meaning is so deep. Like, be your own light. Don't rely on anyone else to come save you. Like, you have to save yourself, and you have to just be there for yourself, because at the end of the day, no one will come for you.
Yeah.
People are there to support you. Family is always there, friends are there, yeah, but it all comes from you. If you don't want to be there for yourself, if you've given up on you, there's nothing anyone else can do, like nothing. Yeah. Not a therapist, not a doctor, not your significant other. It's just you, because how much, like, people have their own lives. No one will give theirs up for you.
Yeah, that goes back to kind of what we were saying in the beginning, that like it's important to be depending on yourself, to be developing yourself, to make sure you are fulfilled and not relying on others to fulfill you.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's so beautiful.
Yeah, thank you. I mean,
I love that. Yeah. And you were talking about how this was kind of the result of the phases in your life in the past, which involved eating disorders. And I was looking at you talk about body positivity. So do you want to talk a little bit about how that happened, what happened, that phase of your life?
So I'll tell you, like, I feel I still haven't been able to get to the bottom of it, but I really think it was the pressure of not knowing what the future holds, because it was towards the end of my academic year in school, and it's like exams starting. You have to pick your college, your career, what courses you want to do, and at that time, it's like for every child, it's so much pressure because you don't know what you want to do, right? Like for you, that's what you're going through right now. You have all these options, but you don't know what you want to do, and it's like but you have to pick, you have to choose, you have to do something.
Yeah.
And it's so scary because it's like your whole life is dependent on what you choose, right? The decisions you make in college and the courses you choose and all that, like for most people.
Yeah.
Unless life has other plans. And during school in my exams, I just like the fear kept getting to me to such a point where I'm like, my mind went off studies, and I was like constantly exercising, not eating at one point, went completely anorexic. Then my body was not okay with that anorexia, and I started eating a lot. I started binge eating, and then I got into bulimia, and then I would just like throw up. And my whole thing, like my day would be like eating for 8 hours, throwing up for 2 hours. It would become a mess. Like my life at one point was such a mess. And then from bulimia, like that eating disorder, my mom was like, every therapist, every this, every that, to try to get me out of it. And then somehow after school, I wanted to go to the US, and I was not okay to study more. Like I got really good IGCSE scores somehow by miracle. It was miraculous because my best friend helped me study. And from IGCSE, I wanted to go into fast track A levels. So instead of going to another school, I went to a institute in Knowledge Village.
And you do it in 1 year?
You do it in 1 year. And there I met a certain group of friends, and it was such a change of environment for me and a distraction that I completely forgot about this whole bulimia eating thing. And I needed that distraction. At that point, that was so important for me. So that friend group, and like the things, they really helped me out of it without even knowing. Because I was so sheltered in my school, like pick up, my mom would pick us, drop us over there. Like if you want to go to mall, everything was like my mom was there for us. When I met this group, it was like, go use the metro, go use the bus, live life like that, go home at this time, that time. Although my parents were not okay with that. It was a phase that I needed to get out of it. And that's how I did get out of it. Then I ended up studying in AUD, never went to the US. But overall, I think it's so scary, the pressure of change, that it makes people act in very weird ways and can give you internally, it can just bubble up a lot of horrible feelings that shows, like you start acting on it and you don't understand the person. That's what teenagers like really go through, Yeah. That's why people don't understand teenagers and their behaviors, because of that pressure of studying and choosing.
Yeah. For sure.
And I think you're in that phase right now. Like, although it's not that bad and intense, touch wood, but it's like you understand, right? Like for you,
in terms of the confusion and like having different, for sure. And like even talking about, for example, my younger sister, she's also in kind of a phase of choosing, because she's in her last year of high school. She's choosing college, so it's like deja vu, because that's what I went through. And now when I see her, she's also confused. Like this is just a part of life, but the way it can affect different people, it really varies, because that fear of not knowing what the future holds or what to do, it can really get to someone.
100%. Like my sister right now, she has insomnia. Like she can't sleep at night, and it's all because she's scared. And it's that fear. It's like that fear is so big, like the midlife crisis, when you're changing, going through a transition of like changing countries, changing jobs, changing relationships, or like after school, after college. Around those phases, it's when it really hits you, you develop some weird form of dealing with it or the other, either not eating too much, not sleeping too much. It's extreme ways of coping.
How do you think people around you should support you in that scenario?
Okay, I think for anyone in that scenario, just always be there for them, and I think accept them, but offer them sound advice. You need to give them that space to heal, but it's so difficult. You don't know how to deal with someone. Like there's no right way of dealing with anyone.
Yeah, that's true.
It's like some people don't want you to ask, some people want you to ask, some people want you to ask, but they won't show that they want you to ask.
It's so distinct for each person. Yeah.
But honestly, whoever, like, you know, if there's anyone ever like you can give advice to, it should be like you need to yourself get out of it. And honestly, my mom used to say this, depression is a luxury.
Interesting.
Have you ever heard that before?
No.
To see, it's not the right thing to say right now, because for a lot of people it is like, you know, mental health,
Serious
and they're born with it, and it's something that's not like a distraction can make it go away. But I have to say, for a good number of people, when you are bored or don't have anything to do and are idle, that's when it really gets into you. Like depression, negative thoughts. It's not depression actually, it's negative thoughts.
Yes. Yeah.
And that manifests in ways of trolling online, hating on others, hating yourself, hating your environment, family, friends, hating on like people that are succeeding. Though in those kind of ways, it bubbles up.
Yeah, for sure. And I think we're all gonna go through that phase of life where we're bored, we don't know what to do, where we have, and that builds this negative energy in you gradually and gradually.
Yeah.
But in the end, it's always it's just how you turn that energy in, what you turn that energy into.
Yeah.
So like for example, for me as well, you were saying you didn't get to go to the US. For me, it was kind of similar. I was planning to go to the UK. I didn't get to go. So I started university here. And obviously it was my dream to study abroad. That's something that I've always wanted to do. Ever since I was young, my family and I knew that I was gonna go abroad to study. And then COVID happened, and because of that, it was too hard. And so I started university here. And so in the beginning, it was sort of like I had all this negativity in me. I was like why didn't I get to go? Like, this is something that I've always wanted to do. I worked so hard, my A levels, so unfair, things like that. And then eventually I did get to travel with my university provided me a lot of cool opportunities to travel abroad. And I met really cool people, made really good friends. So in the end, like, it works out, but in different ways, in ways you don't imagine. And then I started this podcast. So like boredom and negativity eventually led to like this passion project. So it really
that's amazing. It's what you do with your boredom and what you do with your thoughts and your free time. And it's amazing, like just seeing your story, right? You see how everything just plays out. It plans out to just work out. And you don't see it then. Later you look back and you connect the dots and you're like, it was meant to happen like that. I was supposed to go through that struggle, and I was supposed to go through those moments of doubt, and now it's like, see where I am and what you've done. And I'm so, honestly, I've said this from the time I met you, so impressed by everything you've chosen to do for yourself and with your hobbies, and actually made a product of this. Because a lot of people think, they don't action it, and you've done that.
Thank you. I'm very shy when people compliment me, but thank you very much. And the way you do it is so genuine, like, so it really means a lot.
It says a lot about you as a person and how far you'll go in life. Touch wood, honestly, you will.
Thank you very much. And I was so excited before coming to meet you, because I know you're really, really young. You said you were gonna turn 26, right?
Yeah.
And so when I started seeing your content, and then I started researching about you, I was like, wow, you're so cool. Like, just the whole persona and the aura that you have is just so like positive and energetic. So even the first time that we met, the first call that we had, I was just like, oh, you're so like energetic. I love it.
Oh, thank you. I think
that's how I described you to my friends as well before coming. So yeah.
I think I bounced off your energy from the conversations. It's like you kind of reciprocate the kind of energy you get, right? But yeah.
For sure, yeah.
Same goes to you, like literally ditto.
Oh, thank you. But yeah, this truly means a lot. So we're gonna continue to compliment each other. But so everything that you said was beautiful to reflect on and see that, you know, you came out of that phase, and it was you who took the action. Of course, it was the environment around you that played a role, but it was, at the end of the day, it's you. So it's really cool to hear.
Dude, what you said, honestly, I did not think of this until now. But yeah, if at all anyone's in a situation like that, change the environment. Because the environment, like, if you're too comfortable in it, you need to put them in a different environment.
But
yes,
how do you think that environment changed you? Like, you said that you were in a new friend circle. So were they I don't know, were they very
You're too
positive? Were
busy.
they
Yeah, you're too busy focusing on different
on
things.
new people or
Yeah.
or something? Yeah. So this was when you sort of moved out. You weren't living with your family
No,
anymore.
no, I was.
You were,
Okay, so that time, okay, so my whole school and college life, I was with family. So after school to college, at that point was like when I met these group of friends, and I had my first date, and then you were like too busy, like thinking of those things, and in school it was just studying, 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 studying. So I was put in a very different environment,
yeah.
where my focus was something else. My like, you know, day to day interests, not interests, like it was agendas were something else altogether, you know. So it's like, okay, I have to okay, I have a boyfriend now. I have to worry about, like, you know, making friends and what outfit I'm gonna wear. It's not like school anymore where it's like the same outfit. I don't know, like you have different kind of things in your head, priorities.
Yeah.
So priorities shifted big time, and with that, my eating disorders kind of phased out. So what you said there is such a revelation. Like, if someone is going through something shifty, change their environment, because that will, when you get too comfortable, I think that's what happens.
For sure. I think, yeah, that resonates with me a lot. Like, environment plays such a huge role in your mood, in your lifestyle, and it also helps you find your own personality. Like, when I moved out and I started college as well, there were so many things about myself that I didn't know, that I realized after I moved out and I started meeting new people, and I was like, oh, I like talking to people, actually. You know, like, there were so many little things about me that I didn't even realize until afterwards. So environment played a huge role in my life. So that really resonates, actually.
I think we've, you know, unlocked some
our own life right now. Yeah.
I think it's the reality for so many people, but like they don't realize, like, that is one of the biggest, like, you can have your medicines, you can have your, go to a psychiatrist and get prescribed, or you can read these books and stuff, but honestly, what we discovered now is like one of the key factors to changing your behavior is changing your environment. Leave your current situation, move on to something if it's making you feel a certain way.
Do you think there was a lot of pressure in your school because of your school environment, or family environment, do you think that pressure?
That pressure, every student, it comes from internal, like it's an internal pressure to perform. Yeah, and that 2 times of exams when it comes to that, because everything leads up to it, right?
Yeah.
And when it comes to it, you're just like cold. You're like, if I don't do, what will happen? College, this, mock exams. It's crazy how much pressure these students have. And it really is like, if they're not comforted, like, don't worry, anything, like, you know, and so many people don't have that safety net. So it's like you have to perform well, and then it's like your kind of body at one point, like, I don't know, depending on the person you are, breaks down. If you're not that smart, if you're not that good in studies, and you have that pressure to achieve something that you haven't been achieving so far, it's very scary.
Yeah, I think everyone just, that's so true. It's very scary, that phase. People don't realize that teenage phase is very chaotic, because they are going through such a weird phase in your life where you know and you don't know, where you're like, who am I, what am I doing, and like you have to make decisions that are gonna determine the rest of your life somehow. I mean, that's what you think, what you think. So,
and everyone's judgmental, you have bullies, you have cool kids, you have, oh my god, and it's like too many influences from everywhere. You don't know what life is. It's
during that phase in your life, did you experience bullying? Did people around you, I don't know, have a lot of negativity as well?
So I experienced everything in life, like name it, honestly name it, I have, okay, like from everything, like whatever you can think of, like the darkest things you can think of, I've experienced it. So bullying, at one point I was bullied, at one point I was the one bullying someone. So I have been in both sides, and both sides are so horrible in their ways. Like, I was, at one point, I remember I took up drama classes, and we had a show we were putting on. I go to the bathroom, and there was there was like a paper with like the We Hate Simran Club, and there was like a whole sign up, like a bunch of people from this group that had signed up to that list, and it was like a full group of like We Hate Simran group, and I was like heartbroken, and I go and tell my girlfriends like, look at this, and that's so heartbreaking, and it's like you feel embarrassed to even tell your friends about it, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, because they might think like, oh, why we don't want to be friends with her, she's not cool, I don't know. And then there was a point where I didn't like this girl coming into my group, so I was the one bullying and just making up like vicious, not rumors, but like just kind of manipulating the situation to get her out of the group, and which I realized later was so messed up. And my mom is like, don't ever do that in your life, like you don't know how karma is going to get you back so bad and even worse. And that scared me enough to like just take a step back and like not be so possessive over my friends. That's when I learned to like let go of that clinginess, possessiveness. But yeah, I've been both sides.
Do you think that side of bullying came out as a way to express your emotions because you were being bullied? Like, do you think that
like
was
a vengeful thing?
Yeah,
like, oh, let me be in the other side now, like the more superior side.
Because like people, when they go through that bullying, they try to find a medium to let go. And I don't know if that
I don't think it was that. It wasn't like, oh, I want to be what I was subjected to, but it was more of like I was very possessive of my group and friends, felt insecure and acted that way, although there was no need to. But I think everyone has that, and
has that phase, and you learn from it. And the important thing is that you reflected on and you realize that you don't want to continue that.
As long as you accept it and learn and kind of move on, like fine. But everyone has that phase of like hating, feeling, you know, like you know, you don't want that person in your space. You don't want them, like, you know, coming into your environment. But then you can't do too much. You just have to let go, and you can't be wrecking someone's life to preserve yours. No?
And like as your mom was saying, karma can really come in, and there's really no. The thing is that when we think about jealousy and hatred, this is natural. It's human instinct. It will come to you. But it's just, I was watching a video today. It's just the way you use that jealousy. I was watching a video of this girl, and she was talking about how she was really jealous of this other person making a lot of money on social media, and they both have like similar expertise. So she was like, why am I not making that much money? She started feeling jealous. So she could have either just sat there and like felt mad or bad about it, but then what she did was she started taking the initiative to be friends with that girl, and they became good friends. Then they started talking about how they make money, then they started helping each other grow and stuff. So it's really the way you deal with that jealousy, because jealousy will come. Like that's, I guess, a part of.
And you always compare yourself to others. It's so normal, but that's what, it's so difficult being a human, no? Like, all these emotions.
I know, like
right way.
I was thinking about this yesterday, and I was just like it's crazy that I have to like take care of my skin, take care of my hair, take care of my mental health, take care of what I'm studying, make decisions about my future, like do all of these things.
Can someone else just do this?
Yeah, it's like can I just delegate these tasks? Like, you know what I mean? It's just crazy how much like humans have to be and go through, but it's just a part of life, I guess.
That is life, and the more you realize, like it is everyone's life as much. You can see someone's life as so perfect, although it is in your eyes, you know, like they're like, for me, anyone living with their parents with a maid is like, oh, your life is so perfect, don't even talk to me, don't even look at me, because my parents moved back in COVID, and since then I'm just like my own maid. And there's no mom to do.
At least you have a cook, your sister.
I'm like, I have a cook. But no, not like my mom was my maid or anything, but it's just like,
I understand.
Laundry is done, your support is done.
Doing all that yourself.
But one thing I want to say, like, I'm so grateful for my parents. Like, they were always so open in the fact that you can come and tell them anything. Like, if I bullied someone, imagine like the embarrassment to accept it, but I would be open enough to tell my mom to get the right advice. And had I not, I would not have received that advice. So the one thing for kids is to be open to their parents, and for parents to even like make it that environment, because you can't just be open to a parent who is strict and judgmental and slaps you for everything, you know. Like throws their shoe at you every time you open your mouth. What will you go and tell that parent?
Just the way you put it, slaps you for everything. Yeah. But yeah, I was gonna talk about this because based on this conversation, it just feels like, yes, for sure, it's the parents who have to create that environment, but it's also the fact that you accept that, okay, this is something that I did wrong, and you're open to talking about it to someone like your family, like your parents. Like,
Yeah.
you know, it's not always easy to talk about these touchy
Yeah.
subjects about yourself to your parents. So just the fact that you're bold enough and you have the courage to accept and not be in that denial. Maybe you went through the denial stage, but
Oh yeah, the way I
regardless-
told the story to my mom, she's like, listen, I can see right through you. That girl did no wrong. Move on from your, like, you know, you're living in some bubble, like burst it and come out. Because you kind of tell the story in your perspective, with your overthinking, with your kind of like, let me rub out some details because I want to make myself,
because I want to make my memes follow.
Yeah, so she kind of like, you know, saw right through it, and she's like, no, doesn't matter. What you did is wrong. Does not matter.
Yeah, it's so good you had that someone just lay out the facts for you. Yeah.
Like reality check, girl.
yeah. But again, it's the initiative that you took as well. It's like it's a two-way street. So.
And I made my sisters also very open with my mom because they had no choice. I was a chugli core, big time. Anything they told me, I would go and tell my mom. And at one point, they had no...
You're that kind of sister.
I'm full on that sister. My younger sister will come and tell me, like, oh, you know, I met this guy. Don't tell mom. I'll be like, yeah, I'm not telling mom. I'm telling mom. Mom knows everything. My dad, like, sometimes I'll be like, by the way, don't tell, because I know he'll tell. My mom will be very subtle about it.
Oh, would your mom tell your dad?
No, she won't.
She would wait for you to say.
Yeah.
Okay.
If I give her like permission, you can tell, then she'll tell my dad. But like that way, she can keep secrets.
Oh yeah, the mom has the right. Only the mom.
But I can't.
Yeah, that's the, I don't know. That's the like the.
How is
Dixie
it with
family.
your siblings? Do you go and tell your parents or no?
To be honest, like we're all pretty chill. Like we tell each other stuff. We tell our parents. The way you said that your parents are very chilled, it's the same in mine. Like my parents were very chill. My dad has always been like, you know, do what you want to do. He always guides us. He gives us like little suggestions on what to do and what he thinks is good. But in the end of the day, he pushes us to do what we should do. So in terms of like being chill, it's very much similar. And like all of my sisters here, but my sisters, my brother, were all very, very supportive of each other. We tell each other everything.
She's awake. I thought she fell asleep.
No, but like she's been coming to some of the other episodes, and she like watches the whole thing. So
How
yeah, we're all
cute.
like
How cute is that? Honestly, it's the best to have family like this.
But yeah, I'm very, very, very grateful for how supportive we are.
And no matter what in life, you know, if you have that one thing, like it's a blessing. It's such a blessing people don't realize, because there are so many kids with nothing, you know, no families, or like unfortunately they've had to face some tragedy or the other, and it's heartbreaking. So if you have that, you cherish it, and you don't count the bad days, you count the good days. Because bad days are just there.
It's always there. Yeah.
Always there. Like you cannot have a life without a bad day. No matter what ideal situation you're in, there will be bad days.
Wow, that's the best way to put it. And it's kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier, that it's when there's something you love, it's not as easy to express it. When something you hate, you think about it a lot more. We were talking about negative comments. So it's similar that when there's good and bad days, the bad days stick out.
Yeah.
You know, but it's not supposed to. Like, you need to appreciate and talking about family, there are so many things about my family that I also took for granted. Some of my friends, they would see my relationship with my sisters, and we always make fun of each other. We joke with each other, we roast each other. That's just the way we are. So some of my friends were asking, like, you know, how did you get so close to your sister? And I was just like, and I didn't even think of it. I was just like, oh, I don't know, it's just happened, like it's so natural. But that's not easy for everyone. Not everyone has that kind of a relationship.
It's not.
Yeah.
And you don't know how situations and circumstances come into play, but it's not. And then the sibling jealousy and sibling rivalry is always there, and it's like very strong in some families, and it's very much like each relationship is so different.
Yeah, for sure.
Not every sibling relationship is like love and rose.
Yeah, it's distinct with, like, my brother, we both used to like hate each other when we were younger. Like, we always used to fight. I remember like we had a lot of fights. Even with, he also used to fight with my older sister. I think he just fought with both of us all the time. But then
boys.
But then, like, as we got older, we got more mature. We started liking each other. Like, oh, I like my brother, So then you start, and then there were things that we could relate to, because I was at a stage of my life that he went through, so he could give me advice, like when I was entering university. So then it just naturally happened. We got closer. So it's just, you go through phases with your siblings. That's just normal, I guess.
Yeah, 100%. I think, in life you go through phases for everything. Family, like with your mom, there's a phase, with your siblings, with everything.
Sure. Yeah, it's the evolution of relationships.
Yeah, nothing is hunky-dory, and that sucks, like it really sucks, because as soon as you start liking, enjoying something, you're like, it's not going to last. But that goes for bad phases too.
True.
That's comforting.
That's comforting, yeah. That's reassuring,
Yeah.
So going back to, so we were also talking about negativity and hate, and what kind of medium we should use to express that, and things along those lines. So let's talk about social media hate, because that's definitely something that is common. It happens to especially you, because you are in like TV personal, you are on the media, you're in the social media. So how do you deal with that? How has the hate comments been? We were talking about it before, but I wanted to expand on it.
Luckily, I was subject to like a lot of hate in school, also like love and hate in school, like phases, which kind of gave me very thick skin. From very young age, I had thick skin. So going into this line, when I was thrown into like presenting and coming on camera, in school, my accent is very adaptable to my environment. In school, my accent was very American. Then after school, it became super Indian. And then now it is very neutralized, neutral. Yeah. So in the middle of my, like after I finished university, it was kind of Indian around then. And then when I joined my job, which it requires a lot of presenting and hosting, it was quite Indian to begin with. And then I was on camera a lot, and I got a lot of hate, a lot of trolling. People used to send emails to my CEO like, get this get this Indian speaker out, like get someone whose first language is Indian to present. We don't understand what she's saying. We're going to report this to the police. It was like extreme hate that I would get, like horrible. And people would comment, like we go live every morning. So people would live comments would just be like, what is she saying? Like send her back to her country. Like horrible, mean things that really make you question and doubt, like, should you even go ahead with this? Am I good at it? Am I not? And that time, like, so much self-doubt builds up inside of you, and you kind of like tell yourself, what, this is not for me, not meant for me, or you can just polish yourself. And luckily, I somehow, like my CEO was always very supportive, and in the beginning he would just be like, ignore these, doesn't matter, you just keep doing what you're doing and keep getting better at your job. Although he would like, point out when I'm not right, which you need that feedback and criticism. But then he would also be supportive to the fact that ignore this, it's temporary, it's happening in the moment. It will 2 days later, they'll forget, they'll move on with their lives. They're not going to be there forever. That's exactly what happened. Wow. Couple of weeks later, he would send emails to my CEO, right? The CEO was just like, what, we're going to get this, if this is cyberbullying, what you're doing, subjecting our host to, continue this and we will get the legal team involved. The guy just stopped messaging. But although one guy stopped, there are so many others, right? And fake accounts people make. But haters come and go. Haters are there hating in the time of their life when they're free, bored, got nothing to do. They will not hate their whole lives. And people who love you, admire you, like you, whatever, they will not express it because they don't have the time to. They'll watch it and it's like in their heads, they're like, oh, this is amazing. Yeah, but they won't send the message. Haters will, to make sure you suck. So like so many times I watch movie, I hear the radio. I love these RJs like RJ Parikshit, Chris Fade, Preeti Malik. Like I love them, but I'll never like message because I don't have the time, you know. But like I know how much I admire them.
Same as me, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like people you admire, you don't really like take the time out to message. But haters, they do. Like I said, they have all the time.
They have the time. They're free. They're just sitting there like waiting to hate on something. Like they have all this. They probably have something negative going on in their own lives that they just project on other people.
Yeah, and it's like my life sucks. Your life should suck too. Yeah. If I am dealing with racism, you should be dealing with racism as well. You know, because let's face it, we all deal like browns if they're not in their home country. Even in their home countries, they deal with racist remarks, racism. When they step out, you face it even more. I faced it so much in my career, like so much with people that I meet, the way people interact with me, knowing like, oh, it's an Indian, we want an English, like someone whose first language is English. So many of those situations, and these kind of viewers, followers, readers of like on social media, it's like you don't know what they faced, and they're like, I'm facing racism every day, why isn't she, let me subject her to it, you know.
It comes from jealousy as well. Like it's a lot of people, they just feel jealous that, oh, like this is also a brown person, she's doing great, you know.
It's either that or like people genuinely, like other races, just not liking the fact that why aren't our own people doing it. Like why is a brown doing it, why is a person of color who is not, like this company is not an Indian company yet an Indians in it, why, like, you know, get one of our people in there. So you just don't know where they're coming from, and you don't know what they're thinking, you don't know like their level of superiority and where they want to stand and how they want to make you feel, and they want to make sure you're always down there. And that's your place. No, it's your place. You know, if you climb up, we will be there to let you know that you don't belong there. And those are the people you just ignore, because the world is a even playing field. It should be an even playing field. None of that should matter. And what matters is how much you make it matter.
Yeah, it's all in here. It's all what you think about. That's crazy. Like I had no idea that those were the kind of comments and how excessive it got. Like people were emailing and going. That's insane. Like that really showcases it. To be honest, showcases how that person is more than anything about you. It's showing that person's personality more than you, and the way you kind of dealt with that, it's just beautiful. It takes a lot of courage, because even when I started this, for example, for me this is out of my comfort zone. Posting on social media is out of my comfort zone. I love talking, like this is great, but when it goes on social media, that is definitely out of my comfort zone. Like it's nerve-wracking. And so when some clips started doing well, I started getting a lot of hate comments, and that's new to me. Like, of course, you get people hate on you, that's normal, but on social media, getting a lot of people talking about you with that much attention, it's just like, whoa, like what did I do, you know? And then people started talking about my accent as well, and then people were saying, oh, I'm like trying to be white, but I'm not, or like whatever nonsense. So it's just like, that's when it started hitting me, like, oh, you said that you started questioning yourself, and this is just recent. I started feeling like, oh, like should I be more cautious on what I
thrive on the hate? They just make the engagement go up.
That's what my friends started telling me, that like this is great for you, like you're getting the engagement that you wanted. Like people are, it's starting conversations
without knowing it. Like when they share it to go like, oh, look at her nose or look at her accent, that share is still there.
It's there. They're giving you the view. It's good for you. That's something that everything that you said, it's just, it really hits me as well, because I've started to realize that social media hate is there. It will always be there, but it's really how much you take in.
Yeah, you would think people just keep getting kind over the years with the amount of like woke content that's out there, but really they don't. You know, like let me give you Priyanka Chopra's example. Her accent has always changed and adapted and evolved, right? And it's so normal. When you're in these different environments, it just happens because you're surrounded by it. You naturally adapt. And it's not about like losing your identity. It happens naturally. So when that happens, like people who are in one place, like for example, people who have been in India their whole lives, they won't understand it because they don't sympathize or empathize. They'll just hate and go like, she's so fake. But until you're ever in someone else's shoes, like even a drug addict, You will judge them for being addicted. You will judge so many people for all the different things they do, they behave like, but until you're in their shoes, you just don't know. You cannot judge anyone. Even someone who cheats, you cannot judge them. You cannot judge them because you don't know what's going on. You don't know like what kind of a person they are, what kind of like wirings they have in their brains, or how they've grown up. Like for them it's right, for it's just so weird this time, because the more you understand people, the more you realize like, oh, you actually cannot judge.
Yeah, but then that and it's important to note that that doesn't mean you're justifying the actions.
Yeah,
it just means that you don't have the right to be judging them, as you said.
Exactly. The actions are not justified. It's wrong. A bad thing is a bad thing. Wrong is wrong. But what's led to those actions, a different story.
Yeah, there's always a cause for everything, and there's always a story behind what's happening, and we don't know. We don't know. Like,
but extremism, like people subject to extreme behavior, like murders and rapes and all, like of course not. Like you don't even find a second to justify or find a reasoning behind that.
Yeah, that's insane. No. Yeah, that's a topic that riles me up. But yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And yeah, when we're talking about hate, and it's just that there's, as you said, there's causes, there's reasons for all of that. There's something going on with their lives. They're facing racism, so they portray it on you. But when you're talking about Priyanka Chopra, I've seen all the hate about her accent. Like I've seen it. But regardless of that, when you look at it, she's representing India and the Desi community so beautifully when she goes to those places. She talks about India. She talks about Desi community. She has that representation in her when she showcases. But people don't like talk about that.
That is what?
Like,
and that's not just with her, but so many of our people from our community, you know, like so many people pick on the smallest things. They don't look at the bigger picture ever. Like Zayn Malik is cheater or something. I don't know if he cheated on, but
I don't know if he cheated on
something. Okay, maybe abused. Okay, never mind. Remove Zayn Malik from this conversation. But so many people, right? Like they go and they do bigger things. They represent, they spread a message. They are parts of organizations, but they have that small mishap in their life, or something they mess up at, something that they do wrong, or they smoke something or the other, like a bad habit, and that is looked at, not like the big, like everything else they do. Move that aside. Just look at that small thing and focus on why that makes them the worst person to be alive.
Yeah, that goes back to the fact that always the bad things stand out, but we have to take the intention and the effort to address everything else.
Yeah.
Like that one thing does not justify or does not determine the whole personality of someone. It actually relates to cancel culture. I don't know what you think of cancel culture, but even cancel culture, the whole idea where you cancel someone because of something they did, I don't know, 20 years ago, something that they tweeted. I think the intention of cancel culture when it started, it made sense, but gradually it just became something to hate on someone for something very small that they did 20 years ago that they don't even remember, nor did they mean it.
Agreed. But that's the thing with any movement, it evolves into something toxic eventually.
Yeah.
Every movement, be it the cancel culture, be it feminism, although they start from very pure ideas and ideas that are needed and ideas that are like cancel culture, if you think about it, it is for those who get away with crap all their lives, and it's like, cancel this person, like why is he still like a public figure, why do we still look up to this person? Like no more of that, right? And now it's turned into something more frivolous. Feminism turned into something more frivolous. Any movement, anything like Black Lives Matter, it eventually turns into something like not what it was supposed to be, not how it originated.
Yeah,
it's like
real
everything,
intention, real foundation.
A natural evolution of a movement is to like, it starts off something that makes sense, something more stronger, everyone gets involved, then it's like, what are we doing, where are we? Something super frivolous, people lose the point of it. The point of it is completely lost at one point.
Yeah. Like I remember when Black Lives Matter happened, and the movement was so beautiful. Like the reason it started, it was really, really beautiful. And then eventually people just started saying, oh, like why are we only focusing on Black lives? All lives matter. But like it's just diverting away from the actual intention of the movement, which is to represent Black people and to support them in these difficult times. So you hit the nail there. Like, that's so true, how the movements evolved and gradually extend
Yeah,
to
and that sucks because then all these movements eventually lose their meaning.
yeah.
Like with feminism, the suffragettes.
Suffragette, right?
We're not gonna include this.
It's okay, we'll cut it.
Anyway, like leave it. No point. Don't even know the word. Suffragettes.
Yeah, is it jets or gets?
I don't know.
But anyway,
move on.
Okay, let's move on. But yeah, so I completely agree with how the movements evolve and become something that they're not intended to, and then even saying the term becomes something negative. So for example, now when you say I'm a feminist, it's not the same connotation to how it was before.
Yeah.
Like for me, when I say I'm a feminist, I'm always saying that I demand for equal rights for men and women, gender equality. That's all I'm saying. But now, like, even I was telling you, I was talking to my friends. There were guys the other day, and I was asking them if they're feminists, and they're like, I don't know if I'm feminist. I'm a feminist because isn't that like women above men?
Yeah.
I was like, no, that's not what it is. But I understand why they think that, because that's how it kind of evolved to become now.
Exactly. And we spoke about this, and it's just the wrong meaning is being taken out of it, and that's really horrible for the women who need this movement. They need it right now. Like, okay, we're lucky to be in a space and environment where we at least have equality to a certain extent, where we can fight for our rights, where we can, like in the workplace, kind of be at the same position as a man. But then all these women in villages and who are being not even villages, like in developing countries. We're lucky to be in the UAE, Dubai, where it's pretty much developed, and it's like one of those very urban and modern countries. But UAE. But for example, I'm going to take India as an example. It's a developing country. You still have mindsets that are not like so old school and narrow-minded, and like these husbands that torture their wives and beat up their wives and stop them from working. And you do have those mindsets as much as you have those who are like now open and who are learning and evolving and getting out of those generational teachings of like patriarchy. You still have those who are like women who are just being, what's the word, like who are being made feel inferior, who are being restricted to do what they want, who are going through abuse on an everyday basis.
Yeah. So sad.
And they need the feminist movement. They need feminism. They need it to come to their areas, and they need their men to be educated. They need to be educated as to like how to get out of it and how to fight for themselves. It's not easy, but that's who the movement is for.
Yes.
Not like who gets the seat in the metro and all those things. Like, come on, like it's not, or ladies' nights. When people are fighting for like, why are there ladies' nights and no men's night? Like, come on, what is this movement coming to? Like alcohol? It's coming to like bars, and who gets ladies' nights and men's nights and bars? Like, come on, that's not what it's for.
Yeah, people.
That's a different ball game altogether. Don't dumb it down to ladies' nights.
Yes.
It
just generalizes into like the most trivial matters.
Exactly. There are women being beaten up at homes, being raped, being abused, and just horrible, no rights for them, and life is not easy. And here we are crying about these, like you said, trivial things of ladies' nights. Like, what on earth is that? Like, you have no words. Like, you just want to like slap people who even talk about such things like feminism. Oh, but you have ladies' nights. Like,
I hate when people like
talking.
bring in feminism in like in this context. Like, it just boils.
You have a dedicated space in the bus. You have a dedicated, like, it's not that.
That's not exactly like I've had like some conversation where it's like, are we seriously comparing feminism to like this? I understand, like, because it's social media, like that's people have brought in feminism into this context, so that's why people talk. But it just angers me to the point where this is not feminism. Is like everything you said is just, that's exactly how I feel. Like sometimes I think like I'm so privileged, and I don't know why I deserve to be in an environment that's so welcoming, treats me equally. I'm in an environment that's supportive, and it's like there's a girl out there who's probably smarter than me, more talented than me, but she doesn't get the same opportunities as me because she's in a family or in a culture that
doesn't allow it,
demeans
yeah.
women. Yeah.
Like there are places that are so regressive, and that too, like when it comes to metro and buses, like women have their spaces. Like go to a country like for example, read this article in the US. It happened where a woman was in the metro and a man was masturbating right in front of her, you know, like looking at her and just like touching himself. Like this is what you have these areas for, because men make it so unsafe for women, you know, like it's so unsafe, like in countries, to travel at night, to use any kind of public transport after a certain hour. Once the sun goes down, 7 p.m. onwards, you don't want to look at the face of a metro or bus. You get so scared. You get scared for your life.
Yeah. Like men don't realize that, like just walking out on the streets, like the thoughts that we
Yeah.
go through, it's valid thoughts. It's because it gets tricky, it gets dangerous, it gets really unsafe in certain countries. I mean, in UAE it's relatively safe, but most countries are not like that. Relatively.
Like in Dubai, I was at the age of 16, I was raped and kidnapped, like very momentarily kidnapped, and like those I endured those, not endured, I was subjected to that. But that's what, like no matter where you are in the world, you will always find behavior or men or situations that you can get into that are like, you know, it's so unsafe. It can change your life. And for some women, like that, those 2 minutes, or you know, like that one not wrong path, like you make a decision of doing this or that, and that changes your life forever.
The trajectory of your life.
Yeah.
That's insane.
And it's so scary, like acid attacks and things women go through. It's the more you think about it, the more your heart breaks and aches for these women.
Yeah.
And then what have they turned feminism into? Men against women. Like come on, like
that's not what it is. Yeah. You put it beautifully, like that's exactly.
And it sucks.
Yeah, it's so sad to think about. Like when you think of these scenarios, these cases, these lives of women, it really puts you into perspective, because you take your life for granted, like so much for granted, but there are so many people out there who deserve far more, but they don't, just because of the constraints and because of things that they did not decide.
Exactly.
It's not in their hands. Like it's just so sad to think about.
It really is.
Yeah.
And that's what, like, you know, honestly, we just said this 5-6 times, but like how they have turned this movement to be something of such a joke. It's so sad.
It's so annoying. It's so irritating, and it's sad for sure. How do you deal with these kind of conversations? Maybe if there's a person who's talking about something that you're like, that's quite dumb, or you don't agree with, how do you navigate through that?
Maybe before I was very different. I would just like pounce on anything and give my point of view, give my opinion, and kind of, but you realize no one wants your opinion. Once they have their opinion, they don't care to listen to anyone else's. They don't, and it's just not worth wasting your time to even speak to them, because they will fight you back with their stupid logic. And like there's this one colleague I had, and it was about like the water cooler, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, why should I lift this water up when a man can do it?
Mm-hmm.
Like fine, I get the whole thing on strength, and like of course a man is comparatively stronger to a woman, but it's like expecting a man to do it. It's like you cannot expect someone to do it. It's like you can request them to do it. You know, like if you're going to fight for feminism, if you're going to fight for equality, then you need to know the difference between expectations and requesting. Like then you also should be very much familiar with those terms and stuff, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, so me getting into a fight with her and telling her like, you are wrong to expect that, you just let it go. You just let it
learn to let it go. Yeah.
It's like so pointless. Even with the fights on vegetarianism and stuff, when I read things of like, oh, animals were made for humans to eat, it's like you have so much you can say to that, but you're just like, what's the point?
Yeah.
What is
They're
the
not
point?
going to change their opinion.
Yeah.
It really depends on the people you're talking to, because dialogue and conversations are like the first step to change.
Yeah.
But if the other person is not reciprocal, if the other person is not really open to listening, then why waste your energy?
You're just wasting words, you're wasting your energy. Like you said, you're completely wasting it, and they're not ready to listen means nothing. No valid point you make will
change.
They won't hear it. It will not touch their brain cells. It's not gonna happen.
Yeah, that's something that I still have to learn, because for me, if someone says something that I don't like I, as you said, you pounce. Like it's the same for me. I always respond, and even though it's so clear the person's saying the same thing over and over again, they're not actually listening to what you're saying, but I will still repeat it. I will get mad, and I will waste my energy, and I will be in a bad mood.
Yeah, honestly, the best way to deal with it is just like, cool. And it's like, if that person is talking a load of shit that you cannot even bother to hear for a second anymore, completely disassociate yourself. Or if it's something you're like, okay, fine, whatever, can put up with, like, fine. You're just like, yeah, okay, don't agree, but fine, whatever, let's move on. Because yeah, I remember having a conversation with a family member of mine, and they were saying something about just like homosexuality and all of that. I wasn't really in agreement, but I'm just like, what do I like? Like it's no point in having this long ass conversation now. Like it's not gonna go anywhere. So I was just like moving on from the topic instead of like starting a full debate, which will not, in their heads they're right. You can't change it. So let's move on.
But when do you know? Because conversations are still important for change. So when do you think is the right time? When do you think is the right time to be responding? I guess it depends on the person you're talking to, right?
It really depends. And when is the right time to have the conversation? I feel like, for example, we're having this conversation now, if the person ends up listening to a clip like this, consuming the content, understanding it from like watching it and understanding it, maybe something will click. But just talking to someone one-on-one might not always work, because no one wants to hear it from someone they know. When it comes from someone they don't know,
that's true,
it might just resonate with them. But like not always when it's someone like a family member, a friend, a stranger. Like you're going into it to fight. When they don't have a chance to answer back, it's very different in those senses. Like maybe sometimes they introspect that. I don't know actually when is the right time. There's no wrong time for a conversation, but then there's a time and place for everything, and people are not always ready to listen. So you just got to pick your battles.
That's the best way to say it.
It's all about picking battles in life.
Which is hard, because it's hard because that depends on your priorities. You need to have priorities that would help you navigate which is the right things to select. So if you don't have those priorities, it's hard.
Like I know so many people on my social media, like it was like I didn't like what they were putting out. I didn't like what I was seeing on their stories. I didn't like what I was seeing in their posts. I just did not like it. I did not want to start a fight, start a conversation, so I just unfollowed. Simple, easy solution.
Easiest way to do it.
Unfollow. Like,
why put yourself through all of that? Like, just when it's not gonna result in anything, it's best to just
any way to block out negativity, you do it. Like, if you need to block someone, your space, block them. You want to hide your stories, hide it. You want to unfollow, you want to make them unfollow you, just do it. Protect your space at all costs. Like, it's just not worth letting people into it and like getting any unwanted energies you don't need, because anyway you will get unwanted energy. If there's a way to
filter
save yourself from it, do it. If it's in your control, do it.
Beautiful.
And that's what I do. Like anytime I feel like envious energy, or like negative or like hateful, blocked. Don't even think about it twice.
The best way, the best solution, honestly. It's as simple as that.
Because you don't want someone hating on you, and you don't know like how magnetic fields work, and how sometimes it can seep into your bubble and attract wrong things. Like you don't want save yourself the trouble. And that's what social media users, when I see someone with a lot of followers, I'm just like always like, oh, how do they protect themselves? But you just have to develop such a thick skin and like
honestly
and always be grateful and thankful, and kind of like keep building on that bubble of yours and make it so strong that nothing can penetrate through it. So you just have to learn that with life, and you have to learn that with like even praying. That brings a lot of like security around you. Prayers
for sure. I think security, as you said, I realized that you need to develop this thick skin, and it comes a lot from you having that sense of security within you, whether that's through praying. Praying is a very effective and very helpful form of security. It's a safe space for you to to express your emotions. So
even atheists, right? They believe in, I mean, of course, it's a worldwide thing now,
manifestations,
right?
yeah.
Atheists
Love
look at it
that.
as manifestations, but it's basically praying is also a form of manifestation.
Yeah,
Because you're praying for what you want into your life. You're thanking the Lord for what you already have. It's
exactly.
different forms, same thing. Same concept, exactly. It's showing gratitude to the universe and asking the universe for what you want. Whatever you call it, praying, manifesting, chanting, whatever, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
So as long as you have something that you're doing, doesn't matter. As long as you're doing it, it's good to kind of, block those horrible, unwanted vibes entering your space.
Yeah.
And pushing the good stuff out, attracting the right things.
So, unfortunately, our time has ended, but I loved this conversation. I truly, truly enjoyed it. It was just so smooth and natural. And I feel like we can talk for like 2 more hours. Like, it's just so easy with you. So, thank you very, very much for your time.
Really
this
great.
was awesome. Do you want to do like a little cheers?
And I have to say, I loved it. Loved this karak.
Yay!
Mine is almost finished.
Really? You finished it?
Almost.
Nice.
Thank you, Mehreen.
Yay.
I love this conversation. Really.
Thank you so much.
The best I've ever had.
Oh,